Welcome to the IT Provider Network. Are you a managed service entrepreneur wanting to take your business to the next level? Do you excel in IT but feel your business management could be better? Join Terry Rossi, where every episode he shares the skills, tips, and tricks that helped him to build a successful worldwide business.
Welcome to the IT Provider Network show. My name is Terry Rossi, and I'll be your host today for episode 1 of the show. We hope that you will join us on our journey as we attempt to bring value to you and your company to try to help you grow and scale your MSP business or cloud service business and share some of the tips and tricks that we've learned along the way. So without further ado, let's start episode 1. In today's show, we're going to talk about 3 great ways to stay in touch with your client base. And this is an important thing for all managed service providers because you're only as good as your last data boy. And what I mean by that is if you're out of sight, you're out of mind with a managed service customer. If you're not providing value and showing your face and communicating with them, you're just another bill that comes on the first of the month that the customer questions whether they need or not. So in my company, in our experience, we found that there are 3 great avenues in which you can talk to your customer base. They're from your sales department, your finance department, and your service department. The order in which they communicate to your customers, at least initially, is in exactly that order: sales, finance, and service. At least in our company it is. So where does it all start? It starts with your salesperson. They're out there prospecting the managed service sale, and they're the first people to make contact, and they're the first people that represent your company in the eyes of the prospect. For us, that's an inside salesperson. An inside salesperson in my company is a telemarketer. So we have a guy, Jim, that's been with us for over 8 years. He dials all day, every day, 80 dials a day in rain, sleet, or snow. It takes a special person to do that. So we're fortunate to have him. So Jim's out there representing our company. What he says on the phone and how he interacts with the gatekeeper, what we call the gatekeeper, that's the person answering the phone, as well as the key contact that we're trying to reach. That's how our company is represented. That's the first impression that everyone remembers. And it's important to get a great person to do this. Whether you're outsourcing it or doing it in-house, you need to really vet that person that's doing the calling for you, because they are the first impression for your company. I know there's a lot of people that want to outsource this job, and that's because it's a hard job, and it's hard to get a person that will actually do that every day. I encourage you to try to find that person, though. It's well worth it to keep it in-house. The companies that you hire that telemarket, I've vetted a few of them, and I've talked to many of their principals and their owners. They're good companies, and they're doing good work, but they're not as good as someone that's sitting in your office that you can hear his pitch all day long. You can understand who he's marketing to. You can work with him during your daily huddles or your sales meetings to make sure that that person is going to represent your company the way you want. That's key. That's really important in a business that's built on trust. So getting back to sales, the first contact is always with sales, and it starts with the telemarketer or the inside salesperson or your outside salesperson, whoever makes the first contact. Then it progresses to the hunter, the salesperson that's out there actually trying to close the deal, trying to land the business for your company. That person, whether it's you or a hired salesperson, they're key in representing your products and services, setting the right expectations for your engagement with the customer. It's really important that you understand what's going on there too, especially if you're not the person sitting across the table with that prospect. You want to make sure your salesperson is honest and truthful. He's representing your services with integrity, not promising things that you don't do or don't do well. You don't want your salesperson out there saying, yeah, we are staffed, knock 24 hours. We have, 10 Microsoft certified developers and 15 Linux system admins, when in reality, you might not have that. So just make sure you have a good salesperson that you can trust, a salesperson that's going to represent your products and services with integrity and honesty. So as soon as you get your salesperson out in front of the customer and they convince them that they're going to go with your service, next is the contract negotiation. And this is where a salesperson, if he's following a process and he understands how consultative sales works, the contract signing should be no big deal. It should be just a formality done at the end of the process. All the dotted I's and crossed T's should have been worked out prior. all the explanation of the services, the products, the coverage levels, the service level agreements, the hours and times of operation, all of that should have been discussed prior to the contract signing. So the contract signing is just really regurgitating back everything that the salesperson has worked with the key contact for over the last few months. So now the contract's signed. This is where some companies, the salesperson is out of the picture and you move on to either an account manager or an inside salesperson that's working the install base. In our company, that's not the case. We keep that salesperson, the hunter, if you will. In our company, that's Brian. We keep Brian involved with the client through the lifespan of the client. Now, it's an interesting dilemma when you do that because there's only so many hours in the day. There's only so many conversations that salesperson can have. So if they're working the install base, they're not out there hunting and finding new managed services deals. Sometimes in the install base, we're quoting low value, low dollar workstation upgrades or software maintenance contracts, things like that make a difference on the bottom line, but don't necessarily need a high dollar salesperson. They can often be closed by just sending a quote. So it's really more of a administrative task than it is a salesperson or the skills of a salesperson that's needed. So double-edged sword. In our case, that's the way it is, though. Brian does a really good job with our clients. They all have built a great relationship with him. They feel comfortable dealing with him. That relationship makes it real easy for us to go forward and sell continually into the customers. Obviously, we try to sell back into our customers because that's a much easier sale. I forget the exact statistic, but many people say that's, 4 times easier to sell into your install base than it is to sell to a new customer. And I believe that. So we put a number, a ratio on that. We try to sell 40% of our MRR or monthly recurring revenue back into the same clients as products and services. So in addition to our monthly recurring revenue and the fees that we charge them flat, we try to sell 40% additional projects, software licenses, hardware upgrades, etc. during the course of a year. And that really makes the difference in your profit. So you want to pay attention to that. You want to get them in the door with your managed services agreements. You want to make sure you have adequate profit in those agreements that they can stand alone. But then you also want to make sure you have add-on products and services that increase the level of profit that you're getting from your customers. So sales is in the door. The customer's on board. They've went through the onboarding process. The handoff to the service team is done. That shouldn't be the end of your sales department's communications with the customer. You have to remember to keep your customers involved. If you have webinars, if you have lunch and learns, if you have any kind of activity that you're engaging prospects, engage your customers too. Even though you won't be selling to them directly, they can be a great asset to you in a pre-sales environment. And they can also learn a lot by attending one of your webinars or lunch and learns. This helps on the service department. This helps bring down calls. This helps increase your add-on sales to those clients. They're looking at things that they might not have seen if your salespeople hadn't stayed in touch with them. So really important to keep your salespeople in touch with your clients after they become clients and through the lifespan of your relationship with them. Make sure they use something automated too, whether you're using a CRM like Salesforce.com or a PSA like ConnectWise Manage or Autotask. Make sure your salespeople have structured activities where they're doing regular follow-ups with your customers. And these don't have to be your typical account management type calls. Hey, Mr. Customer, calling to make sure everything's okay with our service. They could be on a variety of things. 1 month they could be calling and doing that type of account management call. The next month they could be calling and telling the customer about a new offering that you have. Anything to just keep the conversations alive and the relationship flourishing with the client and the salesperson. They spend a lot of time building that relationship. You want to make sure that they continue it. That's sales. Really good idea to keep them in touch with your customers all the time. The second great way to keep in touch with your customers is with your service delivery team. If you're an IT service provider, MSP, cloud service provider, software developer, almost always your help desk are the people that have the most communication with your clients. So you want to make sure that's a strong avenue for communications to keep your relationship alive. You can do this in a number of ways. With every service ticket and every call you get, you can make sure that your representatives are representing your company in the best way possible. There's some really, really simple things that you can do that go a long way to keep the customer smiling on the other side of the phone. I'll give you, for instance, the number one pet peeve I have when I listen to my help desk people is no problem. It's no problem. Well, of course it's no problem. The customer's paying us a lot of money for it to be no problem. Change that right away with your service delivery people. It's not no problem. It's never no problem. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Is there anything else I can do for you? That's the way you should speak to your customers. They're paying your paycheck. They're putting the lights on in your business. It's your pleasure to serve them. If you have a service delivery person, help desk person, engineer, system admin person, etc., that doesn't feel that way, that they're there to serve the customer, you need to invite them to be successful somewhere else. You don't need that on your team. You need people that are there to serve, people that want to make sure that your company survives and is strong, and more importantly, your client's company survives and is strong. So nip that right in the bud. It's not no problem. It's my pleasure. You also want to make sure that you're listening for subtle clues on those help desk calls, clues that your customer might be unhappy. And, these can come in a variety of ways. You can see, usually it's good if you get there first thing in the morning because you'll see problems that occurred overnight. And these are critical. These are little breaks in the dike that can cause a relationship to fail. I'll give you another example. I come in the morning sometimes and I hear that someone's machine was, rebooted and patches were not installed, or somebody's machine was rebooted and our managed service username is up there and the customer doesn't understand how to log in. They never think that the username could be wrong because all they ever do is put in their password. Little simple stuff like this frustrates customers. It makes them chirp up the chain to their management, which then, of course, comes back to you. It rolls right back down the hill. So make sure your service people are paying attention to that, especially your overnight people. If you have overnight staff that are working on patching and virus removal and, all the things they need to do on a desktop when the client is not there, make sure they leave the machine in a state that's ready to go. Make sure you're not doing maintenance overnight where you're automatically rebooting machines and people have unsaved documents. Make sure your clients know the maintenance day that you're working on. Make sure they know their machines are going to be rebooted. Simple little things that can go a long way with your customers that your service delivery team can help with. Another avenue in the service delivery team is your actual manager. Make sure your manager is looking at tickets for your clients. Make sure he's looking at the responses that the reps are writing in the tickets and following up on anything that is not fully explained or looks like it's fully resolved. He should follow up with the rep and he should follow up with the customer. It goes a long way. Even if the customer is fine, a little follow up once in a while is a really good thing to do on a service ticket. If you're fortunate enough to have customer satisfaction surveys, which we do, then your service manager can also look for trends in the customer satisfaction surveys or unhappy end users at your clients. Let me talk a little bit about the customer satisfaction system we use. It's a very simple system. We built it into a standard service status response on our tickets. So when we mark our tickets completed, we have a two-stage closing process where we mark tickets completed. We start with the completed status. That status basically marks the ticket as completed, notifies the customer that we've completed the ticket, puts it in a 3-day clock, 3-day timing cycle where the service manager has 3 days to review the ticket, and then the ticket will be fully closed out. So what happens during this 3 days? Well, that automated message that goes out to the customer that says it was closed says, hey, we hope we've resolved your issue. We believe that we have. Would you take 2 seconds and answer this customer satisfaction survey? And it's a real simple survey. There are 3 pictures, a green smiley face, a yellow neutral face, and a red unhappy face. The user, all they have to do is click on one of those 3 things, and we have our customer satisfaction survey. After they do that, they can put in a comment if they want, and a lot of people do. We get a lot of great comments. If they're unhappy with something, they can also comment about that as well. And when they do that, that's when your service manager needs to follow up and make sure that we're doing the best that we can to satisfy their needs. Sometimes you can't please everyone. I've had negative customer satisfaction surveys come in because, a printer was out of toner well, we can't really control that. I understand the customer was not happy, but it's not really something we can fix. Okay, it could be argued that we could fix it, but we really don't deal with managed print. We don't deal with toner or anything like that. We don't monitor toner levels in printers. Some of you may do that, and that's great, but we don't. So once in a while, you get a negative that you'll just have to live with, but once in a while, you get a negative that shows you a bigger underlying problem. And that's the key ones the service delivery manager needs to work on. So make sure he's looking at the tickets. Make sure he's looking at the customer satisfaction surveys if you have them, and make sure he's following up with your customers. Another important thing to remember in the service delivery team is that help desk communications are not customer communications, are not customer relationship communications. So just because your help desk is speaking to a particular client or customer one day doesn't mean that we're doing account management. If they're speaking to them too much, as a matter of fact, it probably means there's some sort of underlying technical issue that should be resolved. If you see these recurring tickets for a recurring problem, maybe you should think about getting to the root cause of that. It's what I wrestle with my team all the time. Sometimes they get so caught up in just the process of solving help desk tickets that they don't think about the root cause of a problem and look for a proactive solution that we could roll out to that customer or all customers. Make it part of our standard way, we call it our ITEC way, the way we do things, the way we roll out firewalls, the way that we roll out group policy, the way that we roll out new workstation installs. They're not thinking about putting that back in the process. So you constantly have to remind the service delivery team that they need to be thinking about proactive ways that we can scale, that we can provide better service to our customers. It's important that you as a manager, you as an owner, that you continually do that and bring that back to your service delivery team. The third and final way that you can talk to your clients is with your finance team. And this is often not great conversations, at least not in our company, but finance is often talking to a customer about a finance problem, either a late payment or a missed check or an invoicing problem that you have, but it doesn't always have to be that way. And we always try to start off the process, the new client relationship process, with a call from finance. So generally what happens is during our onboarding process, and this is a documented procedure that we follow every time, we use ConnectWise Manage in our company, and we use a combination of what they call tracks, which are scheduled automated messages. We use them mostly internally, but we use tracks, and we use what's called a standard service template. So a standard service template creates a new service ticket with a standardized set of tasks, documents, descriptions, team members, etc., so that we make sure we're doing the same thing every time, and we have a process that we can improve upon for the next customer we onboard. So part of this onboarding process is our finance team needs to reach out to our new customer. This is done for a couple of reasons. One, it's another touch point. It's another way to say hello and welcome the customer into our family and welcome them into our service. And it's also a way for us to gain important information so that our first impression with finance in that company is a good one. Our invoices are going out correctly. They're going to the correct person. They're addressed in a proper way. We've agreed upon the terms of the sale, net 30, due on receipt, whatever it is. We've agreed upon that. The finance team at our company hashes that out with the finance team at the new client. It really goes a long way to set the stage. Then if there is a problem with billing, if there is a problem with collections, there's already a relationship established. The finance people at my company have already made contact with the finance people at our new client. So finance, the third way that we can talk to our customers, or the third department that we can talk to our customers. And I think with finance, it's important to remember this step, because anything you can do to get your checks sooner is a good thing. Cash is king. It pays the bills. It pays payroll. It keeps your vendors and employees happy. You want to make sure you're doing everything you can consistently to bring the cash in the door. Your clients hold the keys to this kingdom, so you have to make sure that you're doing things right. Years ago, we suffered from a problem on the other side of our business. The other side of our business is software development. We do software development for manufacturers worldwide. So we're writing custom software, and we have a document management enterprise content solution that we sell to manufacturers. We had a big problem, though. We were doing a lot of time and materials billing, and we were having a lot of billing issues. We would get a PO for 40 hours and we would bill 51. We wouldn't get paid. We'd have to go back, hash out the PO, talk to the project manager, get an additional 11 hours, send the invoice back in. All of a sudden, net 30 was net 90 or net 120, running out of cash, not having cash to pay our vendors because we were not doing the right things on the front end. So remember that. Get the invoices out right, get them to the right person, get them out timely, and you'll get paid timely. If you don't do those things, you're in for a spiral of death, as Gary Pica would say. This is going to definitely back up on you and you're going to have a problem. So anyway, that's it. Our first episode of the IT Provider Network is in the books. We talked about 3 ways you can keep in touch with your client base and how each department within your company has a different but important role to play in your customer retention. And we talked about a little bit about the show and why we're here. So I hope you'll join us. Subscribe to us on iTunes or Stitcher or Tuned In Radio, wherever you go. And make sure you check out our website at theitprovidernetwork.com. We look forward to helping you build your IT provider business. We've been there. We've done that. We've learned a few things, and we look forward to hearing from you and what you need help with. Remember, we get it done for our customers. We are IT. Have a great day.
Thank you for joining us, and we hope you've been inspired. Check us out on social media via @ITProviderNet and visit us at www.itprovidernetwork.com for past episodes, show notes, videos, and more. And we hope you'll join Terry next time on the IT Provider Network.